My name is Madison, and I'm 45 years old. That Tuesday started like any other weekday. I was working from home, catching up on some reports when I decided to call Mom around lunchtime. I always tried to check in on my parents at least once a week. "Hi Mom, it's me," I said when she picked up. "Oh Madison, honey, how are you doing?" she asked, sounding cheerful. "I'm good, just working. How are you and Dad holding up?" "We're doing fine, dear. Actually, Nora is here visiting us right now. We just finished having lunch together." My younger sister Nora was always closer to our parents than I was. She lived about an hour away with her husband and 2 boys, but she managed to visit them more often than I did. "That's nice, tell her I said hi." "I will, sweetheart. Are you still planning to come for Sunday dinner this week?" I felt a wave of guilt wash over me. I'd been feeling under the weather for the past day or two, and I really didn't think I'd be up for the family gathering. "Actually Mom, I'm not feeling too great. I think I might be coming down with something. I probably shouldn't come this Sunday." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Oh Madison, that's really disappointing. Your father and I were looking forward to seeing you." "I know, and I'm sorry, I just don't want to get you guys sick." "But you promised you'd bring us food from Romano's," she said, and I could hear the disappointment in her voice getting stronger. "You know how much we love that Italian place, and we've been looking forward to it all week." Romano's was this upscale Italian restaurant downtown that my parents had discovered a few months ago. They'd fallen in love with their lasagna and chicken parmigiana, but it was pretty expensive for them to order from regularly. I'd gotten into the habit of picking up dinner for them whenever I came for Sunday visits. "I'm really sorry, Mom. I know I promised, but I'm genuinely not feeling well. I've got a headache and my throat is killing me. I even had to call in sick to work today." "Well, that's just wonderful," she said, and now I could hear real irritation creeping into her voice. "You've really upset your father and me, Madison. We were counting on you." I rubbed my temples, feeling the headache getting worse. "I understand you're disappointed, but I'm actually sick, I can't help that." Fine, but at least remember to send us the money for the utility bills. We got the electric and gas bills yesterday, and they're pretty high this month." This was nothing new. Since my husband died 5 years ago, I'd been helping my parents with their bills. They were living in the house that Michael had left me, and I covered most of their expenses. It made sense, I was doing well financially, and they were on a fixed income. "Sure, just send me photos of all the receipts like usual, and I'll transfer the money." "Thank you, dear, I really appreciate your help. We don't know what we'd do without you." I thought she'd hung up, but then I realized I could still hear voices in the background. Mom must have put the phone down on the table without ending the call. I was about to hang up myself when I heard her voice clearly. "Well, she's absolutely useless," Mom was saying. "Now we won't be able to have a nice dinner this Sunday because of her." I froze, my finger hovering over the end call button. "I'm getting so tired of having to ask her for money all the time," Mom continued. "She always wants to know exactly what it's for, asking for receipts and bills. Why can't she just give us money without all the questions?" Then I heard Nora's voice. "God, this is so annoying. I'm tired of having to explain everything to Madison too. She's always checking up on what we spend the money on." My heart started pounding, I pressed the phone closer to my ear. "Honestly," Nora continued, "if I didn't need the money so badly, I wouldn't even bother talking to her or visiting her at all." Then I heard Dad's voice, loud and clear. "I completely agree with Nora. Madison acts like she's doing us some huge favor. You know what would be better for everyone?" Mom said. "If she just disappeared somewhere, but we could still get all her money. That would solve all our problems." Nora actually laughed. "Oh my God, yes. Then I could probably take over her house too. We wouldn't have to keep humiliating ourselves in front of her anymore." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I carefully ended the call and sat in complete silence for several minutes, staring at my phone. I couldn't believe what I'd just heard. These were the people I'd been supporting for years, the family I'd been trying to help through everything. After Michael died of cancer 5 years ago, he'd left me in a good financial position. The house we'd lived in together, plus over $400,000 in life insurance and savings. I'd moved to my apartment in the city center and let my parents live in Michael's house rent-free. My son was 21 now, in his third year of college in a neighboring state. When he graduated, I planned to figure out what to do with the house next. Maybe he'd want to live there, or maybe I'd sell it and help him get started somewhere else. For now, it made sense to let my parents stay there. I'd been covering their utilities, helping with their car payments, and supporting Nora's family too. I never could have imagined that my parents didn't appreciate my help at all. For the rest of that week, I went through the motions of my normal routine. I worked, I ate, I watched TV, but my mind kept drifting back to that conversation. I'd always known that my relationship with my family wasn't perfect, but I thought they at least appreciated what I was doing for them. I thought they loved me, even if they had a funny way of showing it sometimes. By the weekend, I still hadn't decided what to do. Part of me wanted to confront them, to have it out once and for all. But another part of me was curious to see what would happen if I just stopped. Stopped helping, stopped giving, stopped being the reliable daughter and sister they clearly took for granted. On Monday morning, my phone rang. It was Mom. "Madison, honey, I hope you're feeling better," she said, and her voice sounded perfectly normal, like nothing had happened. "I'm doing better, thanks." "Good, good. Listen, your father and I were talking, and we'd really love to visit Aunt Carol in Phoenix. You know how she's been asking us to come see her new place?" Aunt Carol was Mom's younger sister who had moved to Arizona a few years back. She was always inviting my parents to visit, but they never seemed to have the money for plane tickets. "That sounds nice," I said carefully. "Well, the thing is, we found some really good deals on flights, but we'd need to book them this week. Do you think you could help us out with the tickets? They're about $800 total for both of us." $800, just like that, without even asking how I was really doing or apologizing for missing Sunday dinner. I felt something cold settle in my chest. "Sure, Mom, send me the flight information and I'll take care of it." "Oh, you're such a sweetheart, thank you so much. We're thinking of going next Thursday and coming back the following Tuesday. That'll give us almost a week with Carol." "Sounds perfect." After I hung up, I sat there for a long moment. Then I went online and booked their flights. As I entered my credit card information, I made a decision. This would be the last time. The very last time I'd help them with anything. 2 days later, I drove them to the airport. Dad was in a great mood, talking about all the things he wanted to see in Phoenix. Mom was chattering about how excited Carol was to have them visit. I hugged them goodbye at the departure gate and watched them walk toward security. As soon as I got back to my car, I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. I had 2 days while they were traveling and getting settled with Aunt Carol. 2 days to do what I needed to do. I drove straight to a locksmith. "I need to change all the locks on a house," I told the guy behind the counter. Within 3 hours, every lock on Michael's house had been changed. I kept one set of keys and put the spare set in my apartment. Then I went back to the house and started packing up my parents' belongings. It wasn't much, really, mostly clothes and a few personal items. All the furniture, all the appliances, even most of the dishes belonged to me or had been Michael's. I put everything of theirs into large black garbage bags and carried them out to the garage. The hardest part was putting up the for sale sign on the front lawn. I'd bought it at a hardware store on my way over, and as I pushed it into the dirt, I felt like I was closing a chapter of my life. I'd kept this house for 5 years because it reminded me of Michael, because it felt like holding on to a piece of him. But now it just felt like a burden, a way for people to take advantage of me. That evening, my phone rang. It was Nora. "Hey Madison, I'm glad I caught you. Listen, soccer season is starting up again for the boys, and you know how expensive the registration fees are. Can you transfer the usual amount to my account this week?" The usual amount was $300 per month during sports seasons. I'd been paying for my nephew's soccer, baseball, and basketball for the past 3 years. Of course, I said, keeping my voice neutral, I won't forget. Great, thanks, you're the best sister ever. After I hung up, I opened my banking app and found the automatic payment I'd set up for Nora's sports expenses. I disabled it with a single tap. Then I found the automatic transfer I'd set up for Mom to access my account for emergencies, $500 per month that she could withdraw whenever she needed it. I canceled that too. Next, I found the automatic car payment I'd been making for my parents' Honda. Another $400 per month, canceled. And finally, the rent payment for Nora's apartment. Her husband had lost his job about a year ago, and I'd been covering their $1,200 monthly rent while he looked for work. He'd found a new job 6 months ago, but somehow I was still paying their rent, canceled. In the span of 10 minutes, I'd cut off over $2,400 in monthly support. It felt both terrifying and liberating. Now all I had to do was wait for my parents to come home. Monday morning came and I was ready. I'd spent the weekend mentally preparing myself for what was about to happen. My parents were supposed to land around 10 a.m., and I figured they'd be home by noon at the latest. I was sitting in my apartment, trying to focus on work, when my phone started buzzing. The first call came at 12:47 p.m. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. Then Dad called, then Mom again, then Dad. By 2 p.m., I had 17 missed calls. I finally decided to check my messages. Madison, honey, something's wrong with our house keys. They don't fit in the lock anymore. Can you call us back? We're standing outside in the heat here. The next message was from Dad, and he sounded more frustrated. Madison, we can't get into the house. Did you change the locks or something? Call us immediately. Then Mom again, and now she was getting angry. Madison Elizabeth, you better call us back right now. We're stuck outside our own house, and there's a for sale sign on the lawn. What the hell is going on? I smiled a little at that. They'd finally noticed the sign. Instead of calling them back, I went about my normal day. I had a conference call at 3 p.m., then I needed to review some reports. Around 5 p.m., my phone started buzzing with text messages. Why can't we get into our house? Madison, you need to come here right now and fix this. Why is there a for sale sign? Take it down immediately. We demand an explanation for this. I ignored all of them and ordered Chinese takeout for dinner. Around 7 p.m., my neighbor Mrs. Patterson called. She was an elderly woman who lived next door to Michael's house and had always been friendly with my parents. Madison, dear, I hope you don't mind me calling, but your parents have been at the house all afternoon. They seemed quite upset. Oh really, what happened? Well, they didn't even notice the for sale sign at first. They spent about half an hour trying different keys in the lock, getting more and more frustrated. Then your father stepped back to look at the house number, thinking maybe they were at the wrong place, and that's when they saw the sign. I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing, and then what? They came over to ask if I knew what was happening. I told them I didn't know anything, but that I had seen you here over the weekend carrying some black garbage bags into the garage. What did they do then? They went straight to the garage and opened it up. Oh my, Madison, they were not happy about what they found in there. I could only imagine, all their clothes and personal belongings stuffed into garbage bags like trash. They kept trying to call someone, you, I assume, but no one was answering. Your mother was getting quite worked up. She kept saying, how could she do this to us, and this is our home. Well, thank you for letting me know, Mrs. Patterson. Of course, dear. Is everything all right? This all seems very sudden. Everything's fine, just some family business that needed to be handled. After I hung up, I felt a surge of satisfaction. They were starting to understand that their actions had consequences. The text messages continued throughout the evening. Around 9 p.m., Nora started calling. I let those go to voicemail too. When I finally listened to her messages, she sounded furious. Madison, what the fuck is wrong with you? Mom and Dad called me crying. How could you kick them out of their house? Call me back right now. The next message was even angrier. I cannot believe you would do something so heartless. These are our parents, Madison, our elderly parents. Call me back immediately. I deleted all the messages without responding. Tuesday morning brought a new wave of calls and texts. This time, I decided I needed to take some precautions. I called the concierge in my building. Hi Roberto, it's Madison in 14B, I need to ask you a favor. I'm having some family issues right now, and I don't want any of my relatives to be allowed up to my apartment. Can you make a note of that? Of course, Ms. Madison, what are their names? I gave him the names of my parents and sister, and described what they looked like. Then I called security at my office and gave them the same instructions. Sure enough, around 1 p.m., Roberto called me. Ms. Madison, your parents are here in the lobby. They're asking to come up, but I told them you left instructions not to allow any family visitors. They're quite upset. Thank you for following my instructions, Roberto. Please ask them to leave the building. They're refusing to leave, they say they'll wait here until you come down. Then call building security and have them escorted out. I don't want them harassing other residents. Will do, Ms. Madison. 20 minutes later, he called back. They'd been removed from the building. Security had to threaten to call the police before they would leave. I felt a mix of satisfaction and sadness. It was working, but it was also painful to think it had come to this. Wednesday afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Madison, this is your Aunt Carol. My heart sank. Of course Mom had called her sister for backup. Hi Aunt Carol, how are you? I'm concerned, honey, your parents showed up at my door yesterday in tears. They said you'd locked them out of their house and thrown all their belongings away. What's going on? I took a deep breath. Did they tell you what they said about me when they thought I couldn't hear them? What do you mean? I told her the whole story, about the phone call, about what I'd overheard, about how they'd talked about wishing I would disappear so they could just have my money. There was a long silence on the other end. Madison, I had no idea they said those things. Neither did I, until I heard it with my own ears. But surely you can work this out, they're your parents. They said they wished I would disappear, Aunt Carol. They said Nora wouldn't even talk to me if she didn't need my money. How am I supposed to work that out? Another long pause. I need to think about this, I'll call you back. She hung up, and I knew she was going to talk to my parents about what I'd told her. 2 hours later, she called again. Madison, I talked to your mother and father. They broke down completely when I confronted them about what you heard. They're begging me to ask you to forgive them. And what did you tell them? I told them I'd call you, but honestly, honey, I don't know what to say. What they said was terrible. Yes, it was. They want to apologize, they want to make it right. I felt something hard settle in my chest. Well, they can't. Some things can't be undone, Aunt Carol. She sighed heavily. I'm disappointed in all of you. This family is falling apart. After she hung up, I sat in the quiet of my apartment and realized that I felt lighter than I had in years. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't worried about anyone else's problems or needs. I was free. The next week, I decided it was time to move forward with selling the house. I'd been holding on to it for sentimental reasons, but now I realized that was just keeping me stuck in the past. I called a realtor I'd worked with before when I bought my apartment. We set up an appointment for Friday morning. As I was hanging up, I felt good about the decision. When my son graduated from college next year, I'd use the money from the sale to buy him an apartment in whatever city he wanted to live in. It felt like a much better use of Michael's legacy than letting my ungrateful parents live there rent-free. A few days later, my friend Jennifer called me during lunch. Madison, I saw something online that I thought you should know about. What's that? Your mom posted something on Facebook. It's not good. My stomach dropped. What did she say? She's telling everyone that you abandoned your elderly parents, that you kicked them out of their home for no reason. She's asking people to contact you and convince you to take them back. I rubbed my forehead, feeling a headache coming on. Did anyone respond? A bunch of people did, some of your relatives, some family friends. She's really painting herself as the victim here. Of course she is. Madison, I have to ask, what really happened? This doesn't sound like you at all. I told Jennifer the whole story, just like I'd told Aunt Carol. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Holy shit, Madison, I can't believe they said those things about you. Are you okay? This must be so hard. Honestly? I feel better than I have in years. It's like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. Over the next few days, I started getting calls from various relatives. Apparently, Mom's Facebook post was making the rounds. Most of the conversations went the same way. They'd start by lecturing me about family loyalty and forgiveness, and as soon as I told them what had actually happened, they'd either get uncomfortable and change the subject, or they'd hang up entirely. After about a week of this, the calls stopped. I guess word had spread about the real reason for the conflict, and people didn't want to get involved anymore. But then I got a call from someone I hadn't heard from in over a year, my great-aunt Dolores, Mom's aunt. She was in her 80s and had always been the self-appointed matriarch of the family. Madison Elizabeth, I'm calling about this ridiculous situation with your parents. Hi Aunt Dolores. Don't hi Aunt Dolores me, young lady. You need to stop this nonsense immediately and reconcile with your mother and father. I sighed. Aunt Dolores, do you know what they said about me? I don't care what anyone said, they're your parents. You apologize to them right now and fix this mess, or you're no longer welcome at my house for Christmas or any other holiday. I actually started laughing, I couldn't help it. What's so funny? She demanded. Aunt Dolores, I really don't care if you uninvite me from your holidays. Actually, that sounds great. Now I won't have to listen to you trying to set me up with every single man you know, telling me I can't live alone. Well, I never. You're right, you never did understand that some people are perfectly happy being single. Thanks for making this decision easy for me. I hung up on her, still chuckling. The relief I felt was incredible. No more awkward holiday gatherings where Aunt Dolores would parade divorced neighbors and widowed church friends in front of me, insisting I needed a man to complete my life. A week later, Aunt Carol called again. Madison, I need to tell you something. Your parents are still staying with me, but it's getting difficult. I'm sorry to hear that. They won't leave. I've hinted that they need to find their own place, but they just ignore me. I'm getting tired of having house guests, but I don't know how to ask them to go. That's between you and them, Aunt Carol, I can't help you with that. But maybe if you just talk to them. No, I'm not getting involved in this anymore. You'll have to figure it out yourself. She sighed heavily. I suppose you're right. I just wish things could go back to how they were. They can't, and honestly, I don't want them to. A few days after that conversation, Aunt Carol called back with an update. Well, I finally did it. I told your parents they had to leave. How did that go? Not well, there was a lot of yelling and crying. Your mother accused me of turning against the family, but I stood my ground. Good for you. They had to sell their car to pay off the loan, and they used the rest of that money to rent a small apartment on the outskirts of town. From what I hear, they both had to get jobs to make ends meet. I felt a tiny pang of something, not quite guilt, but maybe sadness for how far things had fallen. But then I remembered their words, if she just disappeared somewhere, but we could still get all her money. Well, now they know what it's like to be responsible for themselves. Last week, I got an email from Nora. It was long and full of anger. Madison, you are the most cruel and vindictive person I've ever known. Because of your selfishness, our parents are living in poverty. They're stuck in a terrible apartment, working jobs they hate at their age, all because you decided to be petty. You've destroyed this family. I hope you're happy. By the way, you're no longer welcome around my children. I don't want them to see what kind of person their aunt really is. I read the email twice, then deleted it without responding. I figured when my nephews grew up, they could decide for themselves who they wanted to have relationships with. Kids have a way of seeing through the adults in their lives eventually. These days, Aunt Carol still calls me occasionally, trying to give me updates about my parents' lives. But I stop her every time. I'm not interested in hearing about them anymore, Aunt Carol. But they're struggling, Madison, they're working retail jobs and barely making rent. That's their choice to make and their problem to solve. It's been several months now since I cut contact with my parents and sister. I still work hard, I still support my son through college, and that's enough for me. He'll graduate in a few months, and I've already found a great realtor to help us look for an apartment in the city where he wants to start his career. Sometimes I wonder if I'm being too harsh, but then I remember that conversation I overheard. They showed me exactly how they felt about me, and I'm just treating them accordingly. I'm not angry anymore, I'm just done. And for the first time in years, I'm genuinely happy with my life.